Hey guys, so using a soap that doesn't really have a stunning scent. It's the classic scent from Dachs. This is a soap. It's a hard puck and it's kind of smallish, at least in comparison to others. I guess you might compare it to the size of a Williams puck. And as you can see, this is not a big mug, and it is definitely has room to play around in there. But we're going to be using the Wolfman WR3 again, single edge. This time it's on 24 hours of growth, and so it should be a more normal shave than yesterday's, where it knocked down 3 days of growth. I was holding this brush up for the little photo, and this thing holds so much water that it was just dripping down like crazy. And so I had to take it, put it back in the bowl here, and I can't use my normal brush soaking bowl because this 35 millimeter knot is so big. It's a fan knot from Thader. It's the 4125 with a size 6 in their terminology. I'm enjoying jumping back into using that guy. We'll use the Gem PTFE blade, same one I used yesterday. It had, as of yesterday, at the end of the shave, it made 2 uses, and so now we're going to use it for the 3rd time. You do have to be a little thoughtful with this setup here. See if I can, now that I've done it once from yesterday, maybe I can do it while holding it up here for you guys to see. I'm going to place the blade in. Now, if you put the back in first, then it looks like maybe the front blade edges don't snick under those little guards, the little stops. So let's switch it and do that first. Yeah, see, then it lays down just right. So looks like you have to go edge first. Okay, and then you can bring in the top cap. It does feel a little, I'm a little nervous. I don't want to drop it because this is on loan. HD Shaves, thanks so much for the opportunity. And there we go. Now, yesterday, mowing down 3 days of growth, I ended up with a nice close shave, even after just a second pass. Actually, except for this area right here, it was aggressive enough to where I maybe didn't work so hard in this area. And so I did have to touch that area up. However, other parts of my face, even after just 2 passes, this guy's very efficient. They were cut very nicely. And so what I was talking about with the soap, if I get as a comparison here, we've got this Williams, it's got Williams inside of it. This is the Old Spice mug. You can see it's not really all that heavy, all that wide. This is a little wider of a mug. Now I think this Gold Dachs still would kind of swim around if it was in this Old Spice mug, and that's what the Williams puck does as well. For a few years ago, these little pucks of soap were on a Black Friday sale at Maggard's, and so I picked them up. And I recall that they had very good performance. Now, I started this series here of about 13 or so different soaps that I picked out from my inventory that were ones that didn't really have amazing scents, that didn't have strong scents, that had bases that I wanted to revisit. And while my nose was post-COVID and sometimes non-functional, it was a great time to just evaluate the performance only. Well, just having a conversation earlier, I just was reading a message from Warren online just today about a recent video I posted, and we were talking about the scent on the lime from Seaforth and the Sea Spice lime, and I was analyzing some of the nuances of some of those background notes, and And it was neat to hear his, because he has that same, either the fragrance or the soap. And so he was able to talk a little bit about that and kind of echoed and confirmed some of the things I was smelling. And one of the observations he made was, if I'm able to pick out some of those pieces that he also notices, then it's possible that my nose might be very close to back in full strength. And that's a neat, I'm grateful for that. Just in general, that my nose was able to bounce back. And I'm also grateful for his insight there. It makes me feel better. So in this case, I am going to just evaluate the soap. It does, you saw me pull it out, so it's not anchored in there. And so what I'm going to do is, I could just kind of when I load, I could just put my finger in there and hold it down. But I think what I'm going to do, since I've got such a big knot anyway, this is a big old knot, it would be hard pressed to get down into this little bowl. I'm going to do the thing that I'm just so assuming, those old scuttles that you see in antique shops or on eBay, where it's got a cuppy part at the top that's kind of small. It probably fits this kind of puck exactly, right? And then underneath, it's got a well with a little spout or something coming out the side that you would put the brush in. And so obviously you're designed to put kind of warm water in the bottom part, and the top here that would contain the puck has little drain holes. And so I suppose at the end of the shave, or whenever you're done loading, you could then place the puck in that top part, and those drain holes would make sure that the soap wasn't sitting in standing water. But I believe, due to the size of those, I don't think you were designed. I don't think they were designed to be a lather bowl to have you even load on that type of device, because it's so small that anything you loaded would just be overflowing. And I think that kind of thing was designed not to make a mess. I'm just guessing there, just an educated guess. So I think today I'm going to lather in a similar way. I'm going to kind of hold this in my palm and load up with the brush. And then whenever I'm done, I'll just kind of slip it back into the cup here. It's lost a lot of its scent. It's a classic scent, just a generic, nice, pleasant scent. But because it's been open, now generally when I have it stored, I will put something that's in an odd shape on top of it like that, so that it's not just taking the scent away in droves. It slowly let it work away. A similar puck like this has been evaluated by me in the past few weeks from Dr. Dittmar. My understanding is maybe Gold Dachs and Dr. Dittmar were one company at some point. It's a little fuzzy memory of mine. And then they had maybe a split or something. Maybe one had a certain geographical area and another one had another geographical area. I'm not sure exactly, but the pucks do look very similar. When I evaluated the Dr. Dittmar, I wasn't super impressed with the lather. If it was a hard puck soap that I could get for the equivalent of about $5 at a grocery store in Europe or something, then I could definitely see using it. It did a good job. It wasn't amazing, but it did a good job. And I'd be proud to have it if I didn't have access to maybe a big mail system, and if that was one that I could get at a local shop. It would give good shaves. And so I'm curious, is this going to be a similar formulation? Is this going to impact me the same way, where, maybe I'd look at selling it or giving it away or something like that? Or is this going to be an improved formula? So we'll see. Talked about the brush. I've loaded the blade. I'll get my face wet now, and then we'll go about loading up the soap. Now that my face is all moist, as I build up the lather, then that moistness can keep working on my hairs. Now what I plan to do is, if this soap does impress me and I feel like I want to keep it around in my collection, then I'll look around for maybe another something to keep it in. I kind of think these mugs are kind of neat. But I do have an excessive amount of smaller jars that I've collected that have lids. And so what I may do then is take this puck, grate it using a cheese grater into shreds, and then I'd be able to press that into whatever size container I want to use. If it doesn't impress me, however, I'll probably just keep it as a puck and you know, sell it or give it away or something like that, because I've just got too many soaps to keep even good soaps. I'm going to have to get rid of some of my good soaps. I mean, if I can, if it's only going to be worth a buck, then there's no reason really for me to, sell it. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and load. The brush has had a while to have the tips get soft, to have that just the water soak those badger bristles. So it should be ready to go. I shook a lot of the water out there. You can see there's still plenty in there. All right, so I'm going to tilt you down while I do this load. How much should I load for? Well, it's been a long time since I used this guy. So, and it's a hard puck. So 45 seconds wouldn't be out of the question. Why don't we just do 40 seconds and just kind of see how that goes. So we're going to have 55 roll around right there. And so why don't we start there. So we'll go to 35 on the next minute. And you can just see how big. I've got big hands, and this brush looks big. This brush makes my hands look small. This is a big bloom. It makes me kind of wish I didn't wear a goatee. Looking forward to trying the WR3 in this situation of a more realistic, instead of 3 days of growth. And there we go. Now you see it didn't have tons of water. You can see it's a bit dry, but that's okay. I bet I'll scrape this suds off of my fingers there, and I can put it on the brush, and I'll also kind of scrape that into the lather bowl. And so I will take that puck, just slip it into the cup, and so then we'll know after the shave, based on the quality, what the destiny of this soap. I did pour into the lather bowl a little bit of water from my jigger, because this is such a big knot and it likes water. So I figured I'd start it out with a little bit, and that water will just soak right up into the brush, and I'll have to add more in just a minute. So yeah, more scent is kind of coming out. So that's good. This is a large but chubby handle. I kind of wish it was a little bit longer. So the W3 yesterday had some tugginess to it. But of course that was because I was dealing with 3 days of growth. Now if that was a regular issue where I didn't shave very often, I might make sure I had other razors in my inventory, because it definitely had some tugginess to it, and it was a pretty fresh blade. I've definitely had DE razors that cut through even more days with a lot more comfort. This brush, at this point, kind of acting like a big sponge, soaking up the water that I'm adding. Nothing wrong with that. Was talking to someone online recently about a soap that I had never heard of before. Bunderbrow, or I didn't pay attention too much to the brand. I just kind of copied and pasted it into Google so that I could see if there were any reviews on it to help him out with his lather. And it was I think that maybe the maker and the line was called Gentle Giant, or maybe the scent was called Gentle Giant. I don't really know for sure. It's from a different country other than the United States. It's not one that I've tried, or like I said, I've even heard about. And it's what was interesting about it. I'm not saying this is wrong at all, but one of their first ingredients was beeswax. How about that? Now, I don't know if that nation has the same regulations as America, but with us, the order of ingredients tells you what's the biggest ingredient proportionally. And I don't know if that's the case with this other nation or not. But man, beeswax, and then honey was in there too. That's pretty crazy, right? None of the usual ingredients that I'm used to seeing. I don't think any tallow, of course. I think they're going a very natural route with that particular company. And I advised the person that, well, first of all, I'd never tried that soap before. And so I couldn't make any, knowledge-based assumptions about it. Told him to load a little bit more. He said he was loading for about 50 seconds. And what I told him was I've tried some soaps that were cases where you had a well-meaning person with skincare and hydration, moisturization as their highest priority, and they would sacrifice the latherability and the slickness to get those skincare ingredients in the soap. And so I definitely tried one. I've tried a couple. One that a guy sent me, another one at a local fair that I bought that was a shaving soap, had a wonderful laurel and sandalwood scent to it, but it didn't lather worth anything because it had goat's milk in there, which is not bad, but it just didn't have the right proportions of the other things that would let it whip up into a good slick lather. And these are people that are just focused on the natural part of it, that and the butters and oils and that kind of thing, that they leave out what makes it a proper lathering shaving soap. And with that information, hopefully he can kind of approach it and maybe. And so I thought, what, maybe if he loaded more, then that might help his cause. And so that was my advice for now. Maybe he'll try that and get back with me. All right. Nice smells, very light kind of smell coming up to me, very enjoyable. I'm sure that this soap would probably last, 6, 8 months if I was using it straight. And then I'm sure the scent wouldn't dissipate because this one's been around for a few years now. All right, so get my face wet one more time, and then we'll put on that first pass. All right, big 35. Look how I've got a big head, and this thing is still huge. I don't know when I'm going to use this brush and not laugh at how big it is. I don't know when that's going to happen. I've had a great time using my Declaration B13. I have been using it quite a bit since I got it. I want to kind of find out if I really like it or not. So I've been putting good uses on it. Now we'll watch how this guy's going to behave. Does the lather kind of empty out of the center pretty quick? And does it move to the outside of the brush? Does it? Yep, a lot of soaps do that, and that's kind of normal in many cases, especially for the first pass. Will I need to go back in and get more lather? Nothing wrong with that if you need to. It's one of the great things that the bowl is useful for. Yeah, see, I'm getting some dribbles down my arm here. You can see it's not a lot is going on my face. I mean, it's kind of translucent. It feels pretty good. Now, maybe this particular soap just wasn't designed to have as much water pushed into it as I did. That's okay. Got a feeling just adding a little bit more soap and just kind of working it will be all we need to get a good lather here. I need to be careful on these thinner lathers with this painting motion. If I flick too hard with a thinner lather, you can send that lather flying instead of keeping it on your face. like right there. The brushes that have really low backbone don't do that as much because they're less prone to that flicking, that bounce back. And so now that I feel like I've got it worked into my skin, I'm going to kind of lay down a layer here, try to even it out. So I'll kind of roll what I can off of the side of the brush. That took a lot of water. Looks like maybe I pushed too much water into it, but that's okay. Since I've got a little bit of, I don't have a lot of lather in here, I'm trying to be conservative with it and rake what I can back into the bowl. All right. Okay, now something I noticed with this razor, you can see how off kilter it is, how if you're holding it like this, it's definitely going to want to kind of roll down to where the weight is on the bottom. And when you're up like this, that's very natural to keep it pointed down. But when I noticed the other day when I was doing my neck, I had to watch which way it was oriented. It's very important to have a mirror when using this guy, at least at first. I'm going to keep, like I did yesterday, the small blade angle. Now, I am sensing right now that I feel like I want to bulk this guy up a little bit because I want to set this razor in a really good light. And I think this lather is a little too thin to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the soap puck here for a little bit. And then kind of work that into my face. Kind of improve the lather a little bit, hopefully. This is not a razor that I want to be lax in the slickness and protection department. It can, I believe that it could bite me if I'm not careful. Yeah, see, you can see it's thickened up noticeably. Compared to before. All right, so let's try that again. It wasn't like it was pulling or anything weird. I just felt like for the rest of this pass to be in its best, on its best behavior, I should go ahead and thicken it up a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Very comfortable. Almost no tugging on most of the strokes. There was a little bit of tugging when I did this part right next to my goatee. I don't think it was just the stuff on the corner either. I do, it seems, need to really watch the angle there. But as long as you maintain a low blade angle, based on yesterday's shave, it looks like I'll get a nice close shave at a pretty good degree of comfort. And the neck is where you may want to go a little slower with a razor like this that's a little lopsided, because keeping that blade angle small could be very different. Like if you might have a small angle here, but you don't change the angle when you move down to here. Now look, we're dealing with an increased blade angle because the skin has curved, but you haven't changed the angle of the razor. Here it's almost parallel with the skin. Down here, it's more like a 40-degree angle. So what I recommend in that case is to do smaller strokes, and then move down to another section. That way you can kind of pivot instead of trying to do one long one and pivot and changing your razor angle at the same time. Now, if you want to do that, that's great. I've definitely seen guys do that. But if you're beginning, you may want to do smaller strokes, and then you can change your blade angle as you go. That's very comfortable. I don't feel any irritation. I don't feel any razor burn, anything like that. So very nice. For the second pass, I just decided to bring in just a little bit of water. Not really do much of a rinse here, because this is the hand I just kind of loaded that water, loaded the more soap in, and it feels really nice on my face, the slickness there. So I just kind of, I don't know, there's a little conservative in me, even though I've got tons and tons of soap, that if I've got a hand full of concentrated soap, I just kind of want to use it instead of just wiping it on a towel and throwing it away, right? I mean, there's just something in me. And that's how does this feel? It's very slick. It feels very creamy. So it seems like Gold Dachs is a better formula than the Dr. Dittmar. I believe somebody said, maybe when I was introducing this series and telling you guys about the dozen or so soaps and inviting you to vote, somebody may have chimed in and said that this particular soap had its heyday. I don't know, maybe 2015 or, something like that. There was a period where this one was really loved and spoke highly of and very popular among the wet shaving community. I think somebody said it was a golden child or, some word like that of the community. So it just must have been around before all these artisan soaps became huge, perhaps. Perhaps that's what caused it to be a little less popular. All right, so now we're going to go cross grain, and for me that means this way. Saw a guy on TV today, he had maybe a quarter of an inch of stubble. It was very close to his skin, and you could see his direction, and what his beard did was it kind of came down this way, and then right around here it actually switched and went toward his earlobe, and then down below maybe it came up and then went toward his earlobe. And everybody's just got different growth patterns, and so he would be with the grain would be straight down at first, but very shortly he would turn into a cross grain if he were to keep going from north to south, and so he would. His is kind of like the swirly area that I have right here, where you have to be very strategic with it. You can't just be a simple stroke. What a privilege to use this razor. I'm pretty sure I would not make this purchase because I like the double edges so much, and I've got vintage single edges, like this kind that I do enjoy. I've got the Saber from Blackland that I don't really. I don't believe I would justify this kind of purchase instead of be able to use it and try it out. I mean, it's a neat technology. It's Wolfman just does such a great job with the razors that he puts together. James is his name. Very comfortable. Really happy so far. Yeah, this is a nice creamy lather. Definitely am glad that I went back for several seconds and increase the soap kind of ratio in the brush there. And as you can see, I've had to tap back into the bowl during that first pass, and so good news is there's still plenty of lather in the brush now that I've got plenty to do the job. So I'll just kind of spread it around. Just a light layer. Oh yeah, look at that. Sometimes it is fun when you're at the third pass and you've just got lather to waste to cake it on, you know, why not? It's going to go down the drain anyway. Good news is it's cheap. So it's okay if it just goes down the drain. I saw somebody try to save it, like freeze it or put it in Tupperware, you know. Nah, not worth that. At least to me. I mean, each to his own, right? Sometimes I do crazy things too. And then we'll do the little touch up here. And I'm going to pay attention with how I do my area down here, because that's what I had to kind of do a touch up on last time. Now, I'll bet once I'm here on the third pass, I could kind of open the blade angle up a little bit more to something more resembling a double edge. Don't have to quite keep it, maybe. Such a small blade angle. Maybe I don't have to do that. Now I will, to give me the best chances for success, switch to a little bit of skin pulling, a little bit. You don't want to over pull. And that way, maybe it will keep a good bit of comfort while giving me a nice close shave. Yeah, see, we've got a little bit of residual slickness here. I'm happy with the performance here, yeah. So I may shred this guy and press him into a more permanent container. Good one to have around just for fun. I do like the Americans artisan brands like Noble Otter and Sterling, Declaration, Barrister and Mann, those guys. But I do also just enjoy the European brands as well. And so this is definitely in that category. D.R. Harris, Salter, Leah, Palmolive. What are some other European brands that I really enjoy? What are some? Can I think of any? I don't talk about them as much because the American artisans are kind of a big part of the market right now. I'm looking at some here. That Bellis 1924 is a really good one. It's kind of a cella. And cella. But cella is not super high performance. Perazzo, that's not high performance either, at least in my book. It's kind of a drugstore, couple of euros. Yeah, it's worth that, but anything more, no thank you. Boy, I bet there's just tons of them that I'm just not thinking about. Oh, Tobacco is from Europe, right? Isn't that a German company? So I've had a more normal shave with the WR3 now. Privileged to have been granted that opportunity. Is it better than the Sabre? It's a good question. Is it better than these guys? It's another good question. These guys have more balance. You can see how they've moved. Instead of sticking everything out this way, they've used the little structure to put it on top of itself. And so this one is definitely easier to balance and hold and know where the blade is as you're moving it around. This guy is very front heavy, as you might expect. So that's got a plus in this regard. These guys are more noisy. If you're like me and you like a more solid feel, then this guy is your man. I probably like the Sabre from Blackland in terms of the modern single edges. I probably like it a little better. It seems to, because it's not as front heavy, it seems to be more balanced. I have used it more, but just based on this first impression, let's call it what it is. It's just a first impression. Based on 2 shaves, I think I like the Sabre a little bit more. This guy's more aggressive. He has the potential to really mow down that growth. I find even the level 2 of the Sabre to be not all that aggressive. However, it does cut nice and efficiently. So that's the best thing for me. It still gives me a great cut, but it does it with more comfort. Um, so yeah, if I had to choose now, I think the Sabre would be my choice. The WR3 though, HD Shave said he really liked it. I think he said that it's kind of his favorite single edge, or he used some kind of superlative like that, where it was either his favorite, the one he enjoyed the most, his top choice, and he knows what he's talking about because he's tried so many of these older kind, as well as he's tried the Sabre as well. So he and I think we have a lot of similarities when it comes to double-edged razors. A lot of the ones that shave me in a way that I like, he also likes the way they shave, but we may differ a little bit. He may like more aggression with his single edges than I do. That's normal, just fine there, of course. All right, my friends. Now, this is not a strong scent. I think any aftershave you want to use at this point is going to be just fine. There's my Whiskey Woods. I should have used that yesterday after the lavender. I used the Agar, which is an oud scent from Sterling, which is fine, which is very enjoyable. But I like the Whiskey Woods as well. So why don't we just use that today? I don't feel like I am mangled in terms of the aggression on my face. I do feel a little bit of, hey, you just shaved, and hey, make sure you watch your technique because it could maybe take off a little bit if you're not careful. My skin's letting me know that it got shaved, and with most of the cases when I use a double edge, I don't have this much tenderness. So I could justify using a balm. Maybe I should use my Hallows balm. I need to remember that that's sitting right there, and I'm a big fan of that scent. This is a perfect time of year for that. It matches the season. I can use it anytime, but it's extra special when you can. I like to use it in cold weather too. It just matches even better. All right, my friends. There we go. A little bit of stinging, not too bad. So I was watching my technique. I was being careful, and so then I got rewarded. Here I got my little necklace right here. I was rewarded with a comfy shave. A little bit of sneaky irritation at the end of the shave, but it feels like it's something that's just going to go away in a very short amount of time, even not using a balm to try to repair anything, even with an alcohol. But I've got a naturally oily skin, so that helps me in that regard. I've been thrown a bone by God in terms of shaving. With my oily skin, I don't have to worry about having a high power balm or some kind of lotion. All right, well, we used up all the soap. I went back for several seconds after that initial 40-second load. I went back, and so maybe we'd call it a 47-second load, something like that. And then that would have been plenty to do 3 passes. And I bet I could squeeze out one more pass out of what was in the brush here. See, we've even got some around the edges there, and then you've got some in the brush. Not too much left in the bowl. So I think this is a good, efficient soap and economical, conservative soap. What's the word I'm looking for? Probably conservative. In terms of giving you nice, good value for your money. Now, if this was a $30 puck of soap or a $20 puck of soap, I'd say no, pass, let's move on to something else. But that's a good little formula. I'm going to grate that with my cheese grater. Then I'll press the shreds down into another container. I've got one here, in fact, that I was using for Williams. This is kind of the old school kind that very similar to what Strop Shop used. And this is actually, look, a test batch that Chiseled Face was doing, I think, right prior to their Silk Tallow. And so they were using these to send out their stuff. It's kind of, the bottom part here is double walled. Feels nice and sturdy. So maybe this one might be a good home for the classic scent of the Gold Dachs. As far as I know, it's kind of German in origin, and Dachs is the word in that language for badger. So it's kind of a golden badger is kind of what the translation of the brand name there. Hey, here's a little extra perk. Here we are at the end of the shave. Here's a little trivia. This, you see these few of these around on eBay. It's called an Ender's Speed Razor. This is the special. And I believe the special means that it has this kind of squared off bottom. That's how you can tell the special's different. I don't think it shaves any different. The other one, this corner right here is kind of cut off and it looks a little bit more curvy. But I think they called it the Speed Razor because you can see it's just one piece. And they made a special blade. It was a very firm blade. It didn't have a lot of flex like a current DE blade. You would put it into here and it would snap into place. It had these little arms on the blade to snap on the outside of the head right here, and then the blade would stick out right there. And there you go. That was how you changed the blade. There was no tightening or untightening. There were no doors to open or close. And so now I did find a vintage blade and I put it in here and it was so aggressive. Maybe I needed to ride the cap and I was doing it wrong. So it could be user error. But this is the Ender's Speed Razor. Ender's Speed Razor. And one of the cool things that can be done with it now, you can buy these. Usually they don't cost too much. Sometimes you can get them in an assortment. I've seen a few of those go around. But you can actually use injector blades. This is an old injector blade. Let me check which is the cutting end. See, it's the same width as the injector blade. Okay? And so what you do, you take an original Ender Speed Razor blade. You can even get a used one off eBay. Just clean it up, and you wear down the edge. You take a millimeter off, 2 millimeters off the edge. I'm going to probably do it with my Dremel tool, something like that. And then you put the injector blade. This is a vintage injector blade. Came with my Schick repeater. See, can you see it coming out? Yeah, see, there we go. You put it in there, and then you take the Ender's blade and you put it on top, and so the Ender's blade acts as a stay to press this blade and keep it in position. I've heard by many people that it's doable and it works well. Matter of fact, a person I respect a lot said that this is the best injector that's out there. This is the best user of these types of injector blades, in his opinion. And the cool thing is, because that Ender's blade is holding it up into place, you can push it or pull it and make it aggressive or mild. So there's just a little bit of shaving. That's what these are if you see these on eBay. It's a strange looking guy, right? So there we go. All right. As always, I've towel dried this guy. And what I want to remind you, if you've got a dense brush like this, give it a really good rinse. Got to get all that soap out from the middle and in non-dense brushes and average density brushes like this golden nib knot here, it doesn't require nearly as much time. Never mind that it's a smaller knot, but equal to equal size of knot. This one takes longer because there are just so many bristles, and the water flow doesn't move through the knot as easily and as quickly. And so you just got to be really careful because I don't know if it's the alkaline properties, some kind of chemical, type property eats through the badger hairs. So I say that often. I want to keep that from bad things from happening to people's badger knots. And boar, same thing. So that's our shave with the gold Dachs, and nice creamy texture there. It felt luxurious. You could back off of the water a little bit and have a very creamy, substantive type of feel to it. You could go the performance route, add plenty of water into it, and have something that's going to provide you wonderful slickness for your shaves. I think it's a flexible enough soap to do that. It's going to last you a good number of shaves. So I like it. We've just got maybe 4 left from the list. We've got Dapper Dragon, Van Yule, CBL, and I think the Men in Black, Bulgari. That may have been the least voted, the least awarded points. I think maybe Dapper Dragon might be next. CBL after that. I think Dapper Dragon is one that's kind of from the old school where it's like the strop shop or something like that. The other chiseled face base, the non-silk tallow base that it does the job well. It gives you a slick lather. It just, when I hydrate it properly to give me the slickness that I want, it just doesn't have that finger feel or like a luxury creamy feel to it. It's definitely not one you hear about too much. When I started, they were definitely in full production years ago, maybe 2017 or something, and they backed off. I don't know if they are making soap anymore now that we're in 2021, or if they had to back off for any reason. But they were well known. Dapper Dragon was for their skin scale polish. It was a gel-like thing that was kind of the purpose of a balm, after the shave to help your skin. And man, that was highly and often mentioned, well regarded in the shaving community when I first started. And I think that may have been missed as they perhaps ramped down their production for whatever reason. Probably more than the soap might have been, is my feeling. But the CBL, very high performance. That's a lesser known brand, and I've bought 1 or 2 tubs from them. And once somebody sent me a sample, and it's a very good performer. I really like it. So there we go. So we're getting near the end of this the no smell, November, or the COVID, the no nose series that we're working on. I've got Silk Road from Paladin. I have never used the Master Soap Creations yet, and this was a generous donation, a generous gift by Alex, if I recall correctly. I've got Mountain Laurel by London Razors that I'm looking forward to trying. I've already used that Eclipse. Is that one a mystery right there? Oh yeah, I still haven't tried the Furia from Goodfellas Smile. That's my first purchase of Goodfellas, first use of Goodfellas Smile soap. So there we go. We've definitely got some fun stuff in the works, and it's been fun going through these older soaps. Just a few of them I've decided to kind of weed out, but a lot of them are admirable and function well. Okay, very cool, guys. You take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. I hope there's been something in this video to help you out. Good night.